Hey everyone, Ben here. Today I'm chatting with Magnus Östberg, Chief Software Officer at Mercedes-Benz. Magnus is leading the charge on MB.OS, Mercedes' own software platform that's turning cars into smart connected machines. We talk about how Mercedes is balancing its rich history with fast software delivery, the unique heartbeat method syncing hardware and software teams, and why open source and standards play a big role in their future. Plus, Magnus shares what's next for software-defined vehicles and some practical tips for leaders driving change in any industry. Let's jump right in. Hello, Magnus. Welcome to the Stellar Work podcast. So glad you're here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You're one of the few people who is really outspoken about software delivery and the process of creating great software in the automotive space. You've been publishing a lot about the MB.OS, but also the heartbeat when it comes to project management and aligning everyone on it. How come? What's the reasoning behind this?
Well, it's very simple. We're now in the context of Mercedes-Benz, a wonderful, great company that people love their products. But the company is a company that is really associated with its physical products. It's beautiful and very emotional physical products. And it's not associated with fast-paced software development, and to change that perspective, both inside and outside, to be able to attract the right talent, and also to get the attention to a different way of working in order for us to meet the expectation of the very tech-savvy customers that we're having and we want to attract, then we need to be able to talk about it, and that's really why we're doing it.
So I just have to say, I'm really enjoying it. Like I pick up everything that you put out there. That's why we're also meeting up here. And I wanted to make this episode with you to talk about the industry transformation that is happening within the automotive sector. So we have a lot of different companies playing this game right now, going from a traditional internal combustion engine vehicle towards a software-defined vehicle. And I'm wondering, with so many different players and so many different strategies on the line, what the transformation journey for a company like Mercedes was, maybe compared to other companies who just started out or maybe got the boost from the Chinese market to enter new markets. What is the strategy that Mercedes is pursuing as one of the oldest car manufacturers?
A great question. So if we start from the vision, from the number one goal is to be able to have the customer choosing to use our digital ecosystem because it is in harmony with the rest of the beautiful Mercedes-Benz product. To do that, we of course need to have a digital ecosystem that now enables us to tailor it to the different parts of the world, because we all live in different digital ecosystems. And we also need to make sure that it ties into the Mercedes-Benz business model and how we are actually doing business. And the number one difference between a company like Mercedes-Benz and younger, newer companies is our logistical system on how we actually give out new products to the market has been in the past tied to physical elements that come into the factories and then is distributed to the customers. And to break that, to have a very fast pace for the software, for the non-physical element, but still produce very emotional and wonderful physical products, you need to have two separate supply chains. And we have called this new chain the end-to-end software journey, which means that we can then deliver new functionalities irrespectively, separately from how we deliver physical products. And to build up this separate end-to-end software journey, that requires, of course, the software tooling to be changed. It requires the IT landscape to be changed. It requires the logistics in the factories to be changed. So it's a complete transformation on how we actually do business. And that is the fundamental difference between a greenfield company that when you set it up for that, compared to a company that have a history where the systems then need to be transformed, and that is the essence of a transformation.
I would assume that it brings some advantages because you have all that set in place. Sorry, but it's also a bit of a disadvantage in some point because you always carry those legacy processes and the culture that comes with it.
As you said, there are advantages and disadvantages. What I often hear from the greenfield companies that they envy us is our safety badge and the brand equity that we have, and that is wonderful. To make sure that when I put out a product that is a digital product that involves your private security and your private data, and I can use my brand and also then amplify that with new cybersecurity techniques and data techniques, I am believed. I have credibility because nobody would distrust me in doing so. The flip side of that coin is I, of course, need to change some of the existing processes and the existing items to be able to do it as quickly as I want to and as quickly as you as the customer expect it to be. So it is a double-edged sword. And yes, they're changing established processes and exchanging what I call muscle memories. A company has a muscle memory that takes effort and it takes a lot of energy to do that. But that is exactly what I actually think is the most fascinating and interesting piece of my work.
One of the things that popped into my mind when you said muscle memory is that MB.OS heartbeat that you've been talking about, where you bring everyone together on a regular basis. Can you walk us a little bit through that, what that is and what its purpose is?
Well, the purpose is simple. In the software community, we're all working in agile manners, and the difference between a pure software company and a systems company like Mercedes-Benz is that we need to coordinate our products with the physical world, because at the end of the day, it's that combination that makes the Mercedes-Benz cars special. And to coordinate that, we want to have the agile pace. We want to have that activities, but we also need a certain points where we then do retrospectives when we look at what is the needs from the rest of our colleagues. Maybe not the need from the end customer, because that is decoupled. The end from the customers we can deploy and release at any time, but there are needs from our colleagues that need to perform certain physical tasks. And that is what this heartbeat is so important, that we take the best of the agile world with all the iterative plannings and be able to look at retrospectives and how we reprioritize a backlog, but at the same time meet the physical needs of the company. And that is what the heartbeat is there to do.
So you're inviting hardware people, but also software people, and they would be joining together?
Correct. In these synchronization points, then we have big room plannings where we're basically coming together and say, okay, well, these are the upcoming goals for the next PI in order to achieve certain activities that needs to be performed. And then the system, software, and the hardware people come together and look at the backlog and prioritize in order for us to meet the respective goals that we have.
So how many people would be involved in such a heartbeat planning?
Well, we have, of course, a scaled agile organization, so we break it down in several trains and several arts, but it comes together to it adds up to over thousands of people, but we're not doing it exactly at the same time. So therefore, of course, it's broken down to the portfolio planning, which is it's a smaller set of people, and then each of the solutions and arts have their own heartbeat training. But it's basically the heartbeat is there to do it at the same cadence, and so that we can work in parallel.
But still, those are just so many people. I imagine that being really hard to pull off. Like all the organization, all the facilitation, all the prep work that you would have to do. Like, to me, it feels like everyone would have to put in a lot of work to make this happen. Did it work out right from the get-go, or how many iterations did it take before it really took off?
Well, this principle of retrospectives and agile work is really to learn and adapt. Of course, nothing works perfectly from the get-go, but we've put in a lot of work over the last couple of years in order to migrate from the previous system that we had to the Heartbeat, and now we have a very good satisfaction. We measure actually the satisfaction of all participants, and we measure the success and the feedback and that we're getting after each PI, and we're definitely on the right path, and but we're never going to be perfect. It's going to be a continuous journey.
Yeah, I can imagine. In the beginning of our recording, you talked about a software platform that would integrate a lot of things, and that is the MB.OS. Is that correct?
Yeah, the MB.OS is the name for our software-defined vehicle architecture.
Okay.
And that is ultimately the product that gets shipped, and it's in of course, like anything, it's in now we have a version 1.03 out there, and it's going to get its major release here 1.2 soon, and it is continuous. Every year is a 2.3 point release, so it's a continuous journey. And in those releases, we of course do incremental updates of elements, but we also replace and refactor components in order to bring in new fascinating and interesting partners, more or less, into the platform.
Through the newsletter of this podcast, so we're having a newsletter, go and subscribe to that. I told everyone that I would be interviewing someone from Mercedes about software. And I gathered a bunch of questions, and I wanted to give one of them back to you, and just going to read it out here. It's about MB.OS. There are so many options among existing operating systems that have been developed by people with years and even decades of experience and tested in thousands of real-world scenarios. Why does Mercedes believe they need to develop their own? Most car manufacturers have a rather poor track record when it comes to owning those pieces of software.
This is a common question I get, and the name operating system is sometimes, let's say, misleading. We're talking about an architecture, and we are using real-time operating systems off the shelf in that architecture. So we have, of course, Linux in our operating system. We have also used for the safety-critical ASIL, ASIL-B, and ASIL-D related items, which is safety-critical. We're using QNX. So, of course, we're using proven real-time operating systems inside there. But the name MB.OS refers to the architecture where we are taking open source components, we're taking off-the-shelf commercial components like the real-time operating systems, and we're taking very much standards from the industry that we believe are world leading, both from partners like Microsoft, from Google, from NVIDIA, in order to then create a curated experience for our customers. And why we have chosen to be the architects of this system is to be able to swap in and out these experiences depending on where you are in the world. You cannot have a Google Maps experience in China. It just physically doesn't work. You cannot have a Microsoft and a Gemini voice agent. You need to have a Chinese Dubao or its competitors. But on the same time, you want to keep everything that is platform cybersecurity related and everything that's API services related the same. And to do that, you need to have control of your architecture.
So basically, I feel this is like the architecture where you could build the future of a software-defined vehicle upon. When we look like 5 years into the future, where do you think this will get us? What can people expect when they would buy a Mercedes with a well-established, broadened out, maybe artificial intelligence powered? Not sure. I think it's already really good. I tested a CLA, a new one, at the dealership for this episode, and I was surprised how good it was. But what can we expect when we look into the future?
Well, in 5 years, we will be at MB.OS 5.1.x. And in 5 years' time, we will definitely have an agent-based experience, meaning that what you actually see on the screen is going to be generated, meaning it is going to be curated based on the context that you're in. Because we're already today have, of course, the voice input, so I can use a LLM or multiple LLMs to understand the context and give you a fluent feedback like I'm doing to you now. But I can also use the camera pictures that is detecting where I am, what am I looking at, together with what has already been presented on the screen and what are the cameras seeing outside. All of that feedback is then giving the architecture the context awareness of what's going on, and therefore the content is going to be curated for you so that when I speak to you and then present choices to you, that is going to be all be generated. That is definitely the direction that we're heading.
That would be so insane. That would be really, really cool. I feel like, so I'm a total automotive nerd. I just happen to love cars. When the Tesla Model S came out, I bought a very scrappy one. I dissected it to the bone because I really wanted to know what this thing is made of, right? So I have a friend who helped me with this project, and we completely stripped it apart on late night evenings. We didn't even have like a proper garage to do it. It was just in the front yard at the parking spot. So I'm really going to nerd out about this a little bit. So I'm happy to see that a German company is going this path, because when you look into the newspaper and see about German software delivery, especially in the automotive world, you would see so many bad examples. So I'm really enjoying this. So this episode is not sponsored, by the way, in any sort of means. I just happened to. That's just my opinion on it. You've been talking about agile methodologies when we talked about the MB.OS heartbeat. And I wonder, like, Mercedes adopted a bunch of frameworks, one of them, the scaled agile framework to accelerate software delivery. And it's been a while since you started that journey. What are the lessons that you learned when it comes to adopting those agile methodologies and following those frameworks?
So there are always a need to adopt a framework. You cannot be dogmatic about implementing a certain framework. It needs to fit to the purpose that you're trying to achieve. And I think there is a lot of opinions in the industry about what is the right way to do and what is obsolete and what is not obsolete. One always have to put into perspective what is the actual objective that the company is trying to solve. The objective of Mercedes-Benz is to deliver a cutting-edge digital experience, but it has to be safe. We are in a regulated environment. I would maybe compare it to some of the developer community who's in banking or who is in aerospace. In the cockpit and so forth, there is a lot of regulation. So in the automotive world, we have to make sure that we're not only safe in terms of the customer is safe, but we also need to prove to the authorities that we are safe. On the same time, we need to be fast and agile. And therefore, a framework, a standard, is always helpful in order to be able to talk concretely about which pieces help us to achieve both goals of being both fast, but also to achieve our expectations to the authorities. And there, the scaled agile framework SAFe is a very good one, along with a couple of other standards that helps us in achieving these goals.
I would assume that all frameworks aside, it would need some sort of, I'm going to use this word anyway, some sort of mindset or leadership shift when it comes to moving from a traditional automaker towards like software-defined vehicle, towards integrating software and hardware in a proper way, and potentially maybe have software be in the driver's seat this time, like within this century maybe. And where do you see like the style of leadership and the style of collaboration is heading towards to when you see all those changes happening on your end of the processes and collaboration?
So, of course, we in the software community believe that need to, in order to be fast, you need to take the decisions where it actually matters, which is close to the product. So the hierarchies are not suitable or helpful for that. However, if you look at the scaled agile framework system, it is still a scrum of scrums. So you still aggregate to an epic, or you aggregate epics to a portfolio. And in order to do so, there are a couple of old beliefs that need to be discussed. And one of the key principles that we're having in my leadership team is we take we believe in this truth, and I'm going to just quote it. It is not true that people don't like change. However, it is true that people don't like to be changed. And if you believe this to be the case, then it's a question about how do you take people along the journey. You, of course, need to set the premises that a change is coming. Change to roles, change to responsibilities, change to methods on how to do things. But to make sure that is the case, there is it's both a stick and a carrot. So how can you incentivize the behavior that you want to have, but also to make sure that you set up clear expectation of what are the expectations that is needed. And we have a program that we run, a transformation program, a Mercedes-Benz Operating Excellence Systems program, where we are working in a structured playbook manner in order to change this behavior in the organization and create understanding and create pull for these new ways of leading, as new ways of being a coach, but at the same time being driven by data, being driven by metrics in order to accelerate the output, accelerate the customer value.
There are so many companies that are undergoing the same transformation and maybe not as far as you guys are. So could you give us a look back maybe on like when you first started and where you are right now, how long it will take for maybe the average company, or maybe you can talk about your case, until you reach a point where you really are able to reap the fruits that you saw?
So if you look at the literature and you look at comparable size of companies, you're always talking about transformation about a 3 to 5 year journey. So I'm now in past my 4th year with Mercedes-Benz. So I would say that we've come to basically 3 steps into the journey. So we're reaping the advantages right now. Otherwise, we could never have delivered the system that we have delivered, that you experienced in the CLA. But we need to continue. We need to go into now to the 3rd and the 4th phase of the transformation, where we're really accelerating, where we're really getting traction in order to reap the fruits of the new way of working.
All right, so 3 to 4 years.
Correct.
Maybe let's get back to one of the things that we've been talking about, which is like balancing speed and safety, because I feel that there are many companies who really need to make that balance. And as I saw in preparation of this episode, you're very much outgoing about open architecture and open source. And I wonder how that goes along with having an open architecture on one end, but also having like your innovation secure on your end. How do you manage to balance those different perspectives, let's maybe say?
So maybe for the audience to frame it, we have been part of this initiative under VDA and under Eclipse to really bring out S-Core, which is an open source initiative where we have contributed code from the MB.OS and made it open source. And other companies, other OEMs, other tier ones, and we're inviting, and we're getting more members also from the US and from Asia joining this initiative. The aim is that when we now go forward, that we contribute code that we believe is non-differentiating. To basically build a standard of the base software to be able to maintain that jointly together. The advantage of that is that we over time are going to have less work in maintaining that core software, and also, of course, take the advantages of following standards. Following standards means that you basically are faster in adopting your upper layer, which is customer differentiating. Because if you need to adopt that to a standard and not to a Mercedes-Benz specific setup, then of course it's going to be much easier and more beneficial to the customers to have that. So it's all about standards that is aiding us in improving our speeds and lowering our operating effort. Because at the end of the day, the customers only care about how it feels and how it behaves. They don't care on the underlying base software that we use.
Yeah, true. Is that still a good strategy in your perspective in the age of AI? Because I see that working out quite well when it comes to the age of Stack Overflow and GitHub projects, and but within the age of AI, that everything that you would put out there, everything that would that you make open source will be scraped by one of the AI providers and potentially used somewhere else. Does that make a difference?
Well, if you look at the underlying base software, which is all about diagnostics, communications, things we do for make sure that we have over-the-air updates and so forth, all of that is just like you have it on the server side, non-differentiating. And if AI can optimize that and improve that and make it even more efficient, then making it open source, make it even easier to fulfill the goal that I said I wanted to have. The differentiating items on top. As I said before, I truly see a future where we're going to generate much of the HMI, much of the experiences, but having control of which of these agents we are putting in, how we pipe that together, that is going to be the secret sauce. So I am of the opinion, and others who have joined these initiatives are of the same opinion, that it serves both purposes. It serves the purpose of standardizing the lower layers and making it even more hardware independent. And it serves the purpose so that we can concentrate on the customer-facing and value-creating elements of the stack, which is higher up in the stack.
All right. While we're already looking into the future, maybe looking a couple of years ahead, what are the future trends in automotive in general, automotive tech, that you're most excited about? What do you think?
Well, if you look at the industry and the society in general, clearly, if you look at the electrification is a trend that is positive for the entire society. So I'm very, very excited that we're now taking the fight as Mercedes-Benz to China, that our products that we're now putting in place in the most competitive BEV market is now benchmark, that we from an intelligence perspective, from a battery range perspective, from a charging perspective, from a vehicle to grid perspective, or how to participate in the society is something that is cutting edge. And I believe that if we are going to be successful, we have to be competitive, and we need to be having products which can beat the best competitors where the market is the fiercest, in order to be successful in the rest of the world. So that is what I see as at the industry right now. The competition from all the new greenfield companies, both in China and in the US, is raising the game, and we have decided to take the fight to be part of that game, and do that with an edge, to do it with a Mercedes-Benz style and the Mercedes-Benz star, but to be able to offer these products, and it's going to be an interesting journey.
Sounds good. Final question for this episode, because we're slowly reaching the end. What advice would you offer other managers and leaders, both at legacy companies and maybe startups, hoping to thrive in this new era of software-defined vehicle, if they want to contribute, if they're like part of this transformation?
Well, I would really say to my colleagues, and I'm doing this as conference as well, we need to embrace standards, we need to embrace open source, we need to embrace software first concepts, so that we're not talking about specifications and endless talks. That's number one and number two. And number three would be, of course, the digitalization, to not only digitize our CI/CD pipeline and ML DevOps pipeline for the sake of the software. We need to make sure that we translate this knowledge and this experience into the physical world, because the physical world can be digitized equally, and it can also be executed in the same pace. And that would be my third item that I usually speak about with my colleagues.
Yeah, makes totally sense. Hey Magnus, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being on this episode and sharing your experiences with us. Thank you for all the insights, and I hope to talk to you very, very soon.
Glad to be here. Very nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Always. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in. That was Magnus Östberg, Chief Software Officer at Mercedes-Benz, sharing insights on the shift to software-defined vehicles, agile teamwork, and the future of automotive tech. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and check out our newsletter for more updates. See you next time for more industry stories and practical lessons. Have a great day. Bye.